The attribute of doing, sifatul fi'l. We are saying it's an eternal, everlasting attribute of God. It's one of his doings. The doing of God is his act, his fi'l, is an eternal attribute of his. It's not an attribute of the self, it's an attribute of doing. Allah has attributes of the self, and Allah has attributes of doings. So, we are talking about the attribute of doing. We covered its many names, ihdath, ikhtira, etc. You study. How many names are those? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 names for this attribute here. In Arabic, that is. We are saying it's an eternal doing of God, the eternal doing of God. The attribute of doing is different from the attribute, yani, is not the same category as the attribute of the self. The doings of God are like saying life creator, death creator, expander of sustenance, constrictor of sustenance, one who makes someone noble, one who makes someone ignoble. That means not noble. Those are the doings of Allah. The attributes of his self, you say Allah exists, you don't say non-existent. Allah has no beginning, you don't say has a beginning. You say Allah has knowledge, you don't say ignorance. Allah has power, you don't say weakness. Those are the attributes of the self. Allah creates harm, Allah creates benefit. Those are doings. So we are talking about the attribute of doing, and we are saying it is an eternal attribute of his. And we said that according to some of the people of the prophetic way, it's not an eternal attribute of Allah, it's the done thing. According to some of the people of the Sunnah, the doing of Allah is the done thing. That means it's created. Okay, so we read through some of these quotes here, and we formulated this little table here. This is where we left off last time. This table was to illustrate for us the difference between the people of the prophetic way in this issue. There is something that the people of the prophetic way agree about, which is that they agree to naming Allah Al-Khaliq, the creator. They agree to naming him that. And they say he is Al-Khaliq fil Azal. In eternity, he is the creator. They agree. And they agree also that the done thing is created. The makhluk, the done thing, is created. So they agree that the creator is not created and that the done thing is created. What did they disagree about here? They disagreed about the attribute of the Khaliq, the creator. So some of them said the attribute of the Khaliq is called Khalq, creating or creation. And this is what we support here. And some of them said the attribute of the Khaliq, the creator, is Qudrah, power, power to create. And we say this saying is permissible to say. There's no harm in saying it. But the people of knowledge amongst themselves, they discussed which of these is most accurate. Following our Shaykh, we're saying to say that Khalq is the attribute, the eternal attribute of the eternal Khaliq. This is the most accurate saying. And Qudra is the eternal attribute of the eternal Qadir. Power is the attribute of the powerful one. The eternal power is the attribute of the eternally powerful one. Qudra. Okay. And then you might say, like someone asked, didn't some scholars say this is just semantics here? Some scholars said this is just semantics here. But this is not merely semantics here. This is really a difference in opinion, with the meaning that it leads to two different outcomes. So they're not saying the same thing. What's the outcome that they are differing about here? Well, they are saying one party is going to say, when they say the attribute of the eternal Khaliq is the eternal Khalq, creating, then they are going to say, and therefore the attribute of Al-Mumit, death creator, is the eternal death creator, is an eternal imata, an eternal death creating. And the attribute of Al-Muhyi, the eternal life creator, is an eternal ihya, an eternal life creating or life creation. And like this, they're going to say the attribute, and like that. Whereas the other party, they're going to say the attribute of Al-Muhyi, life creator, is power. And the attribute of Al-Mumit, the eternal death creator, is power. And like that. So it doesn't have the same result. Okay. Is there any questions so far? Now, do these two parties, the Maturidis here and the Ash'aris here, do these two parties differ that the Qudra is an eternal attribute? They do not differ that Qudra is an eternal attribute. They agree. They agree that Qudra, power, is an eternal attribute of Allah. And they agree that it's an attribute of His self, meaning that you cannot confirm weakness for Him. Where do they differ then here? They are differing in that they are saying, one party, the Maturidis, are saying Qudra is the attribute of the Qadir, the powerful one, and they don't say Qudra is the attribute of the life creator, and the attribute of the death creator, and the attribute of the provider, etc. And remember here, we're talking in terms of these, the name, the adjective, the descriptive name. Because they agree that Qudra is the attribute of Allah. Allah has an attribute called Qudra. They agree. It's the eternal attribute of Allah. Do they agree that Allah has an eternal khalq, an uncreated, beginningless khalq? They do not agree here. One group says, the Maturidis that is, they are the ones who say Allah has an eternal khalq, an eternal creating. That's His eternal fi'l, his eternal doing. They say, and He has eternal qudra, power. Allah has eternal power. When we say Allah has eternal power, we will call Him the Qadir. And when we say Allah has eternal khalq, we will call Him the Khaliq. That's what the Maturidis say. And the Ash'aris are saying, if you say Allah has an eternal khalq, this would imply that there is an eternal makhluk, an eternal created thing. So then they're going to avoid saying that Allah has an eternal khalq. And they will suffice with saying that the creator, the khaliq, the creator has eternal qudra. So for the Ash'aris, the khalq, creation, is makhluk, created. Any question here so far?
Yes, Sheikh. I don't understand the eternal creative thing.
There is no eternal created thing. They agree here. This is a matter of agreement that the done thing, the makhluk, has a beginning. It is created. They agree. But the Ash'aris, why they don't want to say it the way the Maturidis say? The Maturidis, they said the Khaliq, the eternal Khaliq, has an eternal Khalq, and the makhluk has a beginning. Why the Ash'aris don't want to agree with their wording here? Because according to the Ash'aris, this wording would imply that there is an eternal makhluk, which is impossible. They are saying, the Ash'aris are saying, when you Maturidis say the eternal Khaliq has an eternal Khalq, the eternal creator has an eternal creating, then this implies that there is an eternal created thing, which is impossible. So then they're not going to say that. So what's their alternative? To say the eternal Khaliq has an eternal Qudrah, power, and the makhluk is created. Is this clear? You can follow up if you want.
Existing. There was no creation. Yeah, okay. I'll follow up in my review.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Okay, so the Maturidis, they didn't agree with what for them is an assumption on the part of the Ash'aris. What's the assumption on the part of the Ash'aris? The assumption on the part of the Ash'aris is that if there's an eternal creating, then there would be an eternal creation, an eternal created thing. And therefore, they're going to avoid saying there's an eternal creating, the Ash'aris. They're going to avoid saying that. The Maturidis, they disagree with this. They don't say, we agree that if there's an eternal creating, there's an eternal created thing. We are saying the eternal creating is an attribute of the eternal creator. This does not dictate that there is an eternal created thing. So there's no harm in saying that there's an eternal khalq. There's an eternal khaliq attributed with an eternal khalq, and the makhluk is created. The Maturidis, they said the attribute of creating existed in eternity, and there was no creation. Yani, like, what did At-Tahawi say? Lahu ma'na al-khaliq wala makhluq. He had the attribute of khaliq when there wasn't a makhluk. And he had the attribute of Rabb. At-Tahawi said, Allah had the attribute of being Rabb, Lord, and there was no marbub. There wasn't any subject. They're saying like this is his eternal attribute. He was creator with no creation. He was Lord with no subject. He was resurrector before he created anything that's alive to make it die and then bring it back to life. That's the Maturidi way. So they're saying we are not implying that there's a created thing in eternity. We are saying there's an eternal one with eternal attributes. That's all. And the created thing has a beginning. Al-Ash'ari responded that just as there would not be a strike without something that was struck, there would not be a doing without something that was done. Al-Ash'ari is saying, wait, you're saying Allah is eternal doer. Yani we can replace some of these words. Like Khaliq, you could here put doer. Fa'il. Allah is eternal fa'il, doer. Then according to the Maturidis, he has an eternal fi'l, doing, an eternal doing. And the makhluk, the created thing, is maf'ul, done. Yani has a beginning. They agree that the maf'ul is done thing that has a beginning. The Ash'aris, they say, what? You're saying that Allah has a doing in eternity, and therefore He is a doer in eternity, but there was no done thing in eternity? This is what you are saying, you Maturidis? You are brothers, but this is your argument? Ya ahbabana, yeah, you Maturidis. May Allah have mercy on you. That's like saying there was a striker and he had a strike. Yani, in order to be a striker, he must have had a strike. But there wasn't anything struck. Would there be a striker without a strike, nor something struck? No, there wouldn't be. They say like this. You're saying Allah is fa'il, doer, in eternity, and therefore has fi'l, doing, in eternity. But you are denying that there is a maf'ul, done thing, in eternity? That's like saying there's a striker with a strike and nothing was struck. So that's Ash'ari's answer. Imam al-Ash'ari himself, he said that. So he said, just as there would not be a strike without something that was struck, there would not be a doing without something that was done. And hence, there would not be an act of creating without a created thing. So if the doing is eternal, the done thing is eternal. And therefore, the doing must be created because the done thing is certainly created. And thus, it is not an eternal attribute. It's not an eternal attribute, let's say, of Allah. And thus, it is not an eternal attribute of Allah. The Ash'aris, they say, it is a trace of His power. So, according to the Ash'aris,
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Before you
wa
move on,
alaikum salam. Yes.
you're saying the done thing is that the Ash'ari said the done thing is a trace of his power.
Yes.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Okay. So, according to the Ash'aris, there's a creator. And and according to them, the creating, it is itself is created. This is Ash'ari way. According to the Ash'aris, the creating is created. Now, you might say to me, so this same thing or is different? This is one thing or there's two things here? So I didn't go into it last week with you. So the Ash'ari way is that there is an eternal creator. And the creating is created. So that's the same thing, these two, or is something else? So creating here means making something related to His power. So that's created. This is the act of creating according to the Ash'aris. Making something related to His power, that is itself created. This is an event here. And therefore, the resulting creation is created. So they say khalq is created, and the makhluk is created, and the khaliq is not created. Tell me if that's not clear, please. As in created now, created whenever He makes it related to His power. Uh, Whenever he makes its existence related to his power, I mean to say. The non-existence is, yeah, then the creating is an event, yes. Hmm. The creating is an event when he makes the thing occur. That's the Ash'ari way. So according to them, the creating is a trace of his power. According to the Ash'aris, God's doings are traces of his power.
Oh,
Question? Okay. So the Maturidis responded that denying an eternal doing for the eternal doer confirms then what? Occurring doings for the eternal doer. Yani, if there's an eternal doer, then are you going to say he doesn't have any doing? He's a doer without a doing? So you're not, the Maturidis are going to say, you shouldn't say he's a doer without a doing. So if he's a doer, he should have a doing. Then if he's a doer and he has a doing, but you're saying his doing is not eternal, then you are saying he's an eternal doer with a created doing? Now, the Ash'aris in the first place, they're not going to say Allah is eternal doer. They are going to say Allah is eternal Khaliq, because Allah says in the Quran that He's Khaliq, and the Quran is the speech of Allah, and the speech of Allah is eternal. Yani, the attribute of Allah, which is His speech, is eternal. The revealed expression that's created refers to the eternal speech. In the revealed expression that is created, we are told that Allah is Al-Khaliq, and this refers to the eternal speech. So therefore, He must be Khaliq in eternity. So no one can say He's not Khaliq in eternity. He is Khaliq in eternity. For the Ash'aris, this means having eternal power to create. And they're not going to say He is eternal fa'il, eternal doer. To the Ash'aris, when something was done, then calling him doer became valid. And they say this doesn't mean he changed. He didn't change. The done thing didn't make him change, but it's just that the word doer is now going to be applicable. The Maturidis are saying, no, we don't agree. We're going to say he is doer eternally. Without a done thing, he will be doer. Al-Ash'ari responded that these doings that are called the doings of Allah, God's doings, they do not make anything new happen to the self of Allah. They are created. So then someone might ask, why they are called the doings of Allah? The Ash'aris will say, this is an idafa. Idafa. Yani it means attributing something to something else. Doesn't mean it's an attribute of itself though. Idafa, an attribution, like when you say the Kaaba is the house of Allah. Or when you say about the camel of Salih, God's she-camel, it's a created thing. It's not an attribute of itself. Even when Allah says about the souls of Adam and the soul and Jesus, the souls of Adam and of Jesus, my soul, it means the soul of mine. Doesn't mean it's an attribute of his, means he is the owner of that soul and the creator of that soul. This is an idafa, not an attribute of itself. The Ash'aris are saying, when you say the doing of Allah, this is an idafa. So the Maturidis, they followed up and they said, if Allah does not have the attribute in eternity, which attribute? So if you're following, you know we're talking about something in particular. We're not talking about power here. They don't disagree that Allah has power in eternity. They are disagreeing about the doings. Power is not a doing. Power is an attribute of the self, not a doing. They disagree about whether the doing of Allah is eternal or created. The Maturidis, they confirm that the doing of Allah is eternal because Allah is an eternal doer. And they said, if he does not have the attribute in eternity, the attribute of doing in eternity, the attribute of creating in eternity, and also you don't confirm events dwelling in him, you also, Ash'aris, you don't say he has the eternal attribute that we are confirming. And also at the same time, you don't say that he has therefore a created attribute. You don't say that the created doing is the attribute of his self. Then it is necessary that he was not eternally named Al-Khaliq or Al-Raziq, according to you. The Maturidis are saying to them, how would he be eternally Al-Khaliq and eternally Al-Raziq when he didn't have the attribute in eternity to validate the name Khalq, yani the attribute of Khalq, which would validate the name Khaliq, the attribute of Razq, which would validate the name Raziq, just like the attribute of Qudrah validates the name Qadir, and the attribute of Ilm validates the name of Alim, etc. Inshallah, you know what those words mean. So the Maturidis are saying, so you are denying that Allah is eternal Khaliq, and you are denying that Allah is eternal Raziq. Since you deny an eternal Khalq and an eternal Raziq, and you only confirm an eternal power, the Maturidis are saying to them, this can't be the case because his speech is eternal. He says in the Quran that he is Al-Khaliq al-Raziq, and we agree to this. We agree that his speech is eternal. We agree, the Maturidis are saying to the Ash'aris, we agree that the revealed expressions refer to the eternal speech of God. And that in this revealed expression, it is confirmed that Allah is Al-Khaliq al-Raziq, the creator and the provider. So it must be then that he is Al-Khaliq in eternity and Al-Raziq in eternity. And therefore, he should have the attribute of Khalq in eternity and the attribute of Razq in eternity. So this is what the Maturidis are saying. Let's see some of these footnotes here. Here's a footnote. This footnote goes This footnote goes with this sentence. The Maturidis followed up, saying that if he does not have the attribute in eternity and you do not confirm events dwelling in him, then it is necessary that he was not eternally named Al-Khaliq or Al-Raziq. Footnote. Imam At-Tahawi said, لَيْسَ بَعْدَ خَلْقِ الْخَلْقِ اسْتَفَادَ اسْمَ الْخَالِقِ. It was not after the creation of the creation that he deserved the name Al-Khaliq, the creator. وَلَا بِإِحْدَاثِهِ الْبَرِيَّةَ اسْتَفَادَ اسْمَ الْبَارِئِ. Nor was it by originating the beings that he deserved the name Al-Bari, the originator. له معنى الربوبية ولا مربوب. Lordship was his. Yeah, he has the attribute. Here. He has the attribute of lordship even without subjects. The word ma'na means sifa. له معنى الربوبية أي صفة الربوبية. He has the attribute of lordship. ولا مربوب, even without subjects. ومعنى الخالق. And he has the attributes, he has the creator's attribute. معنى الخالق, the creator's attribute. And he has the creator's attribute, and there was no creation. So this is the Maturidi way. Al-Tahawi's way here is the Maturidi way. وكما أنه محيي الموتى بعدما أحيا استحق هذا الاسم قبل إحيائهم. Just as he is resurrector of the dead after he had already made them alive. Just as he is Muhyi al-Mawta, resurrector of the dead. Ba'dama ahya, after he had already made them alive. استحق هذا الاسم قبل إحيائهم. He deserved this name before he gave them life. Yani, after he brings them back to life, he will still be the one attributed with resurrecting the dead. Yani, before he makes them alive, he will be the resurrector of the dead. He is Muhyi al-Mawta before creating anyone who's alive to make him die in the first place. Meaning, he has this attribute, not just the name only. He has the attribute. Although there wasn't any created thing related to this attribute. استحق هذا الاسم قبل إحيائهم. He also deserved this name before he gave them life. The name of Al-Muhyi, life creator. Before giving them life, he was Al-Muhyi, life creator. كذلك استحق اسم الخالق قبل إنشائهم. He likewise deserved the name Al-Khaliq before he willed for them to exist. So that's why the Maturidis are saying to the Ash'aris, it's like you are saying he was not the Khaliq in eternity. It's like you're saying he is Khaliq, but not in eternity. which can't be true because his speech is eternal, and therein he confirmed that he is Al-Khaliq al-Raziq. His speech is eternal. Footnote. The speech of Allah is beginningless, and he has eternally named himself Al-Khaliq and Al-Raziq. It is known that he eternally named himself as such because it is said so in the Quran, which is a created expression of his eternal speech. Thus, the created expressions of the Quran inform us of the eternal speech of Allah. So then he must be Khaliq in eternity and Raziq in eternity. This is all the Maturidi argument here. Footnote. Allah described himself with his eternal speech as the Khaliq. Had it not been that he was the Khaliq eternity, that would necessitate him either being a liar, either he's a liar, or his name is a figure of speech. This is Maturidi argument here. They're saying, okay, yeah, ikhwa, you brothers of ours, you Ash'aris, we know you don't adhere to what we are arguing, but we are saying what you are really saying, though you don't adhere to it, though you don't submit to what we are saying, but really the meaning of what you are saying is that Allah is not Khaliq in eternity, literally, or you're saying Allah is a liar. It's in the Quran that Allah is Al-Khaliq, so he must be Al-Khaliq eternally. So either you're saying he's a liar, or you're saying he's Khaliq eternally, but that's a figure of speech. Or his name Khaliq is a figure of speech. Means something else other than the one who has Khalq in eternity. Because we're saying Khaliq means Khalq, the one who has Khalq. And we're saying the Khaliq is eternal, so then the one who has Khalq, the Khalq must be eternal. So you are saying this is a figure of speech then? Or you are saying Allah is a liar? They know they're not saying Allah is a liar. The Ash'ari is going to say, of course, Allah is not a liar. Sadaq Allahu al-Azim. Allah is not a liar. So the Maturidis are going to say, so what you're saying is a figure of speech? When he told us he's Al-Khaliq, and we confirm that this is what he said in eternity, so this a figure of speech? So this is a very strong argument. Before I go further, any question? So this is a very strong argument here. The Maturidis brought the Ash'aris into a corner here. Because they're saying to them, all right, you agree with us that the Quran is the speech of Allah eternal. They say, yes, we agree. And we all know what that means. We all know that the revealed expression is created and that it refers to something eternal. Yeah, we agree. So the Maturidis are saying to them, so you agree with us here that he named himself Al-Khaliq in eternity, so then this is a lie? So the Ash'ari say, no, it's not a lie. So they're going to say, okay, so then this is a figure of speech? It's not literal? Because to say literal means then Khaliq in eternity means he has Khalq in eternity. You're not going to get more literal than that. So you're saying this is a figure of speech then? So from the strength of this argument, the Ash'ari split. Here, the Maturidis fractured this group here with this argument here. Yani, they had to scramble to answer the Maturidis here. Or else agree with the Maturidis. Answer us or agree with us, which one you want. So in an attempt to answer the Maturidis, they split. Some said that these names are figurative, and that what is meant by not being named in eternity is being named in a literal sense. Huh? Don't worry, this saying is wrong. So not only the Maturidis made the Ash'ari split here to answer them, when they split, a group of them gave a wrong answer. They basically said, yes, figurative. That's wrong answer. Right there, if that's his answer, the Maturidi say, you lose, good sir. You lose this debate here. For sure, the names are not figurative. And the other party of Ash'aris, they're looking at their brothers saying, oh, where you got that answer? Where you got that answer from? You want to make us look bad over here? The names are not figurative. So others did not accept this answer of those Ash'aris. Other Ash'aris did not accept that answer of some of the Ash'aris. And they rather said, and this is also Al-Ash'ari's answer himself, that the names have the judgment of proper nouns, not mere adjectives. And proper nouns are not literal or figurative in the Arabic language. Yani, they're saying, he is Al-Khaliq in eternity, but it's a name of his, not a mere description. If you remember, I told you last time, sometimes someone is named with an adjective. You're going to take an adjective, a descriptive name, and then transport it into the realm of being a proper noun. You're taking it out of the realm of being an adjective, a modifier, and putting it into the realm of being a proper noun. So what if someone's name were happy? What if someone's name were precious? Like this. Or also, I met a guy, his name is Elite. That's his real name. His mother named him Elite. That's an adjective originally. So the Ash'aris, and some of them, and Al-Ash'ari himself, they said, no, it's not a figure of speech. It's not a lie. And it's not a figure of speech. Rather, so here, see how the Maturidis couldn't stick them in this question, all those strong questions. The Maturidis told them, this is a lie when Allah said He's Al-Khaliq in eternity. This is a lie or just a figure of speech? Which one you want? So they boxed them in really good. But some of them slipped out of there and said, no, it's not a lie and it's not a figure of speech. Rather, it's a name. When we say it's a name, means not even merely an adjective, but a name actually. And proper nouns are not literal or figurative. So the expression Al-Khaliq or Raziq applies in a literal religious context. And the source of the discussion is there, not in the literal linguistic context, meaning in simple words, the Ash'aris are saying, we confirm that this is a name of his, number one. Yani, being a name, that means it's not literal or figurative. And number two, we are confirming it because it came in the religion, not because of something that came in the language. It's not because of the Arabic word khalq, for example, that exists in Arabic language outside of religion, fundamentally, originally, just existing in Arabic language, the name khalq. This is not evidence that Allah is al-Khaliq in eternity. Rather, the evidence, the true evidence is, the source of this is the Quran. The Quran is the evidence that Allah is al-Khaliq. And so we can say He is al-Khaliq even in eternity without confirming an eternal attribute of khalq. We don't want to do that because we don't want to imply that there's an eternal makhluk, an eternal created thing. They said, our discussion is here in the religion, not in the language. Uh, okay. So from there, the argument of the Maturidis was stronger because they imposed on Al-Ash'ari that he permits the name of the doer of an action for who is not ascribed with doing the action. Yani, Al-Ash'ari's position boiled down to, for the Maturidis, permitting describing someone with something that's not a description of his. Because like we said, when you say someone is khaliq, which is originally an adjective, it's a description, then you must be describing him with khalq. Just like if you said someone is aswad, black, you must be describing him with sawad, blackness. If you said someone is qawi, strong, you must be describing him with quwwa, strength, and like this. If you said someone is tawil, tall, then you must be describing him with tul, tallness. The Maturidis are saying. So at the end of the day, what you are basically saying is that someone could have a description, though it doesn't apply to him. The attribute doesn't apply to him. Yes. So the saying that his names are attributes for him is derived here from the Maturidi saying. Uh, okay, I don't know. I don't know. Meaning, what's the meaning of the question here? First of all, we say Allah Ta'ala, His names like Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Al-Malik, Al-Quddus, etc. These names of His are attributes of His. Uh, except the name Allah, this one is not an attribute, it's His name. Uh-huh. And we are now just saying that according to Al-Ash'ari, Al-Khaliq is a name of Allah, yani not merely an adjective. So then therefore, when we say that his names other than Allah are attributes of his, this is the Maturidi way and not the Ash'ari way? I don't know. Because these words sometimes they have broader application. So right now we are talking about a particular topic, which is the topic of Sifatul Fi'l or Sifatul Fi'l, the attributes of doings. Are they eternal or are they created? And what you're asking me about is calling the names of Allah Asma'uhu, which we all agree those are Asma'uhu, because the Maturidis are going to have to say those are his names too, because Allah says so. وَلَهُ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى وَلِلَّهِ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى. We have to call them names of his also. So is it now the same thing here, so that when they use the words Doesn't have a broader application somewhere than in one of those than in the other one? I don't know. Because, for example, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I don't know. So from there, the Maturidi argument was stronger because they imposed on Al-Ash'ari that he permits the name of the doer of an action for someone who is not ascribed with doing the action. He's Khaliq without Khalq. He's Fa'il without Fi'l. Creator without creating. Doer without doing. And the other argument, the Ash'ari argument, yani, their answer to that is that the expression in this case is religious and not linguistic. Yani, if you look at it strictly from a linguistic take, then that's you're gonna come away with that. From a strictly linguistic take, you're gonna come away with permitting the name of the doer of an action for someone who is not ascribed with doing the action. But for the Ash'aris, it's not strictly a linguistic take. This is a religious case. So the Ash'aris are not sinners here. They're not heretics. They're not blasphemers for this. Instead, we say that they have opposed what is weighty. Rajih. Weighty means rajih. So, let's clear these last two footnotes here. So, the Maturidis imposed on the Ash'aris or on Al-Ash'ari himself that he permits the name of the doer of an action for who is not ascribed of doing the action. Footnote. That means, yani, so, is there a way to confirm the name of the one who does an action without him doing the action? Is there a way to do so in the first place? If it's a figure of speech. So the Maturidis are saying, it's like you're saying the name of Allah, Al-Khaliq, is a figure of speech. In eternity, though. Khaliq in eternity. And it's like you're saying that, yeah, Allah has Al-Khaliq in eternity as a figure of speech. Then what would it mean? Al-Khaliq then would mean the one who creates in the future. Because the Ash'aris are saying he is Khaliq, but there's not an eternal Khalq. They're saying Khalq is created. It is making the makhluk related to his power. So it's like they're saying it means the one who will create. He is Khaliq in eternity means he is the one who will create. He will create. The creator in eternity means the one who will create. So the Maturidis is saying, La, it doesn't mean the one who will create, means the one who creates, the one who is attributed with creating. Or the Maturidis are saying, it's like you're saying Al-Khaliq means the one who creates after he was not the creator. Or it's like you're saying Al-Khaliq means the one who has the power to create. That's what the Ash'aris are saying. They say, yeah, we are saying Al-Khaliq means the one who has power, the power to create. So then the Maturidis are going to say such figures of speech are not valid when the real meaning is possible and valid. The real meaning is possible, which is the real meaning of Al-Khaliq is the one who has Khalq. That's possible and valid. It doesn't mean, it doesn't imply that there's an eternal created thing. Al-Khaliq means in a literal sense the one for whom the act of creation is confirmed. And the Ash'ari's argument was that the expression in this case is religious and not linguistic. Footnote. Had it been valid to say Al-Khaliq means the one who has the power over the Khalq, so this is still responding to Al-Ash'ari. Had it been valid to say Al-Khaliq, the creator, means the one who has the power over the Khalq, and not the one for whom Khalq is confirmed, it would be valid to give him an adjective that refers to every quality that he has power over. And this is obviously invalid. This is where we started. This is the footnote that we finally got to. So, what does this mean? This means, okay, and this is a strong argument too. The Maturidis are saying, you, Ash'aris, you're saying, Al-Khaliq, the creator, means the one who has power over the Khalq, creation. The Ash'aris will say, yes. So, the Maturidis will say, well, according to that, then if the only reason he is Khaliq is because he has power over Khalq, then it would be valid to name him with the adjective of anything he has power over. So, does he have power over blackness? Yes, then it would be, according to your explanation, it would be valid to call him Aswad. Does he have power over Sawad? Blackness? Yes, then according to your way, it would be valid to call him Aswad, meaning the one who has power over Sawad. He has power over Bayal, whiteness, then according to your explanation, it would be valid to say Allah is Abyad, meaning, which means white. Meaning white, meaning the one who has power over the whiteness. So according to you, it's like you're saying you can call Allah black with the meaning of the one who has power over blackness. And you can call him white with the meaning of the one who has power over whiteness. Just like you are calling him creator with the meaning that he has power over creation. Now, if that's not clear for you, uh, maybe I can do one more table for you that's going to make it clear for you. I don't know if I'm going to keep this table here, though. Here. Just going to squeeze it right here for the moment. Al-Qudratu ala al-Khalq. In Arabic, they said ala. The one who has the power to create. So that's, if you want to translate it that way. The translation here is just an assistance for us to understand the case. So sometimes, actually, let me, sometimes, okay, you have something called an attribute. So an attribute would be like sawad, blackness, and bayal, whiteness. This is an attribute. So here's another attribute, khalq, creating or creation. It's an attribute. Okay. Now, what is the adjective that comes from these? The name, the descriptive name, the adjective. So if something has sawad, you're going to call it aswad, black. If something has bayal, you're going to call it abial, white. And if something has khalq, you're going to call it khaliq, creator. Okay. So what are the Maturidis saying to the Ash'aris? They are saying, you said that Allah is Al-Khaliq, means He has power over the Khalq. Al-Qudratu ala al-Khalq. So Khaliq means to you, the one who has Qudra ala al-Khalq. Instead of Khaliq should mean to you, the one who has Khalq. But instead it means to you, the one who has power over the Khalq. Then should be then that the one who, instead of the one who, then it should be that the one who has power over Bayal, you can call him Abiyad. Instead of Abiyad meaning the one who has Bayal, that's what it should mean. Then the one who has power over the Bayal, you should call him Abiyad. And Aswad should mean the one who has Sawad. But according to you, then Aswad should mean the one who has power over the blackness, power over Sawad. Like Khaliq should mean the one who has Khalq, but according to you means one who has power over Khalq. This is a strong argument here. Still, it might not be clear for you. If it's not, might be the language barrier for you. Or it might be that the concept didn't soak in for you. This is a strong argument. Wa alaikum assalam.
Is that the Maturidi or?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the Maturidis saying against the Ash'aris. Sorry?
Yeah.
Your voice is very muffled. Okay. So this is very strong argument here. And the result here, I'll leave this here for now. The result here is that, yes? The result here is that the Maturidis, they really kept the Ash'aris against the ropes here in this debate. These are brothers, they're just sparring here, it's friendly. This is a sparring match between comrades. But in this case, the Maturidis, they kept the Ash'aris against the ropes. The Ash'aris are staying on the defensive, just answering, really. They tried at first, said, well, you said he's Khaliq in eternity. This would mean that there's Makhluq in eternity. But from there, the Maturidis said, what? And then they just kept the Ash'aris against the ropes. The Ash'aris were bobbing, weaving, dipping, got backed into the corner there. But they could not get knocked out, though. But they couldn't get out of the corner. Like, there's a lot more, too. I meant to actually look for something today. I wanted to put something. I remembered and then I got distracted. So maybe next week I'll have it prepared for you for this topic too. I'll add it in here, inshallah. Any question?
Was that you was going to say at the beginning of class? You forgot something?
No, that was something else.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm reminding you now.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Sheikh, may we go back to the last footnote that we were going through?
Yeah, last footnote was this brown one here. I didn't even finish reading it. So, had it been valid to say that al-Khaliq means the one who has the power over the Khalq, al-Qadiru ala al-Khalq, ala, and not al-Mawsufu bil-Khalq, the one who has Khalq, that's confirmed for him, then it would be valid to give him an adjective that refers to every quality that he has power over, because they're saying that's what you did. When you said that Khaliq means al-Qadir ala al-Khalq, then you gave him an adjective for what he has power over. Then it would be valid if you go consistent like that, then you'll be able to say he's black because he has power over blackness, and white because he has power over whiteness. And this is obviously invalid. Therefore, it is necessary that the adjective, the creator, al-Khaliq, would be like the other adjectives, like al-Basir, the seer, al-Samir, the hearer, al-Qadir, the powerful, al-Alim, the knower. They all refer to eternal, everlasting attributes of his. Exalted is he. So we're going to say also al-Khaliq means the one who has khalq. And it's going to be consistent all the way through. Yes, what's your question, Habib?
Yeah, I have no question. I just got confused by them saying, like, a couple of lines before they mentioned who has the power to create.
Yeah, that's just translation here.
Yeah, perhaps because I got the impression over, like, by conquering or something of that sort.
So here, has power to create means power over creation. Man lahu al-qudratu ala al-khalq. That's what this is supposed to mean. Power to create. Man lahu al-qudratu ala al-khalq. I don't even see another way to say it in Arabic. The Arabic is the origin.
Yeah.
Thus, according to the Maturidis, the doing of Allah, the fi'l is eternal, and the done thing that happens by the creating of Allah is a creation. Likewise, khalq, the khalq, creating, and the takhliq, the creating of Allah, are both of them an eternal. Each one is an eternal. Each is an eternal attribute called the attribute of takween, giving being or being creating. Furthermore, providing ar-razq or at-tarziq is a specific takween, as well as life creating and death creating, ihya and imata. These are specific takween. They all refer back to takween. Takween, creating, or fi'l, doing, or khalq, creating. All of this refers to that attribute, but when you say takween or doing or creating, it has broad meaning. If you want to relate that to a specific doing, then you give it a specific name. So ihya is takween, but when related to creating life. Imata is takween, but when related to creating death. Razq is takween, but when related to providing. Tahriq is takween, but when related to creating motion. Taskeen is takween, but when related to creating stillness, etc. And among his doings is guiding and misguiding and forgiving and punishing, and we're going to come to see those inshallah. And the doings are of two categories: doings that have traces and doings of negation. The doings that have traces are like the previous examples: life creation, death creation. And the doings of negation are like Allah's forgiving whomever He wills. His forgiving that one means He does not punish him. So it's fi'lun salbi. And that's considering leaving out something as doing something. And there's more too. Before even getting into this next title, there is really more. So this information we just went over, it's for what it is, still summarized. وَسُبْحَانَ اللَّهِ وَبِحَمْدِهِ